Okay, to prep for this high hamstring exercise, let's prep the abdominals. You're in the quadruped position, staying very square, and Elizabeth lifts one hand off and puts it down, and then the other without any shifting, without any arching, just staying incredibly stable on the both sides. And she can do the same thing with lifting the knee, which is often very challenging for people. This way, you've got your core support before you start moving the leg, which is what we're going to do next.
This was interesting for me as a way to really engage, feel the glutes fire for tendu and arabesque. And so I'm in a parallel position here and showing what can happen often about sinking into the lower back and then re-engaging through my core to bring that back to a straight back. And I think just tracking in and out as a way to really emphasize just the area of the high hamstring and the glute, and
look at the
keeping
tracking.
it in parallel.
Yeah. Yeah, so whether it's in parallel or in turnout, you're trying to really work that
directly behind the hip,
exactly.
Which anatomically is the place that makes sense for
Yeah.
tendu and arabesque, is behind the hip. So now I'm rotating out and in, and I can see that my pelvis is shifting back and forth, and so I'm going to try to keep that part of it quiet and just rotate the leg in the hip joint. And I think that distinction between the head of femur and hip joint is really key in engaging rotation in some of these larger shapes like arabesque.
Ooh,
and
cool.
So taking this into a third arabesque idea, reaching out with a rotated back leg, and that hip is going to open a little bit at that point because the leg is going to an extreme place. I'm also working to keep my arms, my elbows soft in this place so that I'm not locking into my elbows to create any of that, but really can try to engage the core as part of that as well.
That's right. Beautiful. Oh, okay. It looks like we're going to see it from the other perspective. And I just love the clarity of the tracking and how you have to continue to use the core. You've got the obliques, you've got the belly button drawing back to the spine. That's gorgeous.
And it really helps to send that leg directly back as a key point of equilibrium. If I were to go to turn any of these shapes, that equilibrium would be really essential.
Okay, so I saw you just rotate the hip, take it into a back attitude.
And now I'm purposefully going forward to try to open up the space between my shoulder blades and my collarbones so that there's no tension of what the leg is doing in my upper back, which I see as sometimes something that students struggle with, is that the upper back becomes too engaged.
Right, almost rigid.
Right. So
nice.
And that, I'm really feeling it in the glutes here, and then you can add the extra little pumps, and the glutes are really firing in ways that are essential to those shapes, those really high leg places. Now this is a way to emphasize the spiral action that is really key for the large arabesque and attitude in keeping the rib cage squared while spiraling the pelvis open. So you get two sort of oppositional spirals working, and sometimes that's a hard concept to feel in standing. And so this sort of breaks down the idea. You see the hip and leg spiral in one direction and then the upper back spiral in another, and you could probably bring that elbow even further in front of you and accentuate that upper back spiral even further.
Wow. Thanks, Elizabeth.